Here we begin our walking tour of Hillcrest. As you can see, we have Pernicanos, a long-closed restaurant since 1985. We also have a Rite Aid right across the street, and one of the oldest gay bars in town. We continue our walk. You'll notice that there are many people on the street. It is a very walkable neighborhood, Hillcrest. Densely urban, but none of the buildings are taller than a few stories, with the exception of the hotel we'll see later on in this video. It's a mixed-use area with banks and a ton of restaurants. You'll notice the music as we walk throughout the city changes quite a bit, and that lends to the variety that we have in the city, both in the music, the people. It's a very diverse city that we have here. We also have retail shops, such as the bookstore and the clothing shop to our right, and restaurants right across the street. This is the other side of Pernicanos. It's been shuttered since 1985. Rumor has it that the owner was a homophobe, and he shut it for those reasons. It's a very gay neighborhood, Hillcrest, with many gay and lesbians in the city. We're passing number 1 on 5th right now, one of our older gay bars in this town. As you'll see along this trip, we have a variety of restaurants, Indian, sushi, ramen. There's really no limit to what we have here. It's also quite a busy city for traffic.
What's the boat told you, Indy?
And then we have the Hillcrest sign right across the street there. That was put up in 1983. And now we enter University Avenue, one of our, they're the main thoroughfare. On our right, one of our best restaurants, the Afghan restaurant, Khyber Pass. A Korean and Japanese fusion restaurant right across the street. And again, quite a bit of foot traffic in this town. Hillcrest is quite an accessible city. As you see here, we have one of the exits from the 163 onto University Avenue. And also hospitals off in the distance. There are quite a few hospitals and drugstores in Hillcrest. Across the street we see one of the business complexes, as well as the AT&T building with the cell towers right above. We also have quite a bit of public transport in the city. There used to be a trolley that ran through Hillcrest, but that was replaced by buses several years ago. Continuing our tour, we're going to cross 6th Avenue. Again, a mix of pedestrians, bicyclists, joggers, walkers. There's quite a variety of things to be had in Hillcrest. One doesn't have to leave to find everything they need to sustain themselves. There are 5 centrally located grocery stores, a number of hospitals. There are also plenty of social activities, game rooms, bars, even a movie theater. It's also a bit of a posh district with some of the shopping that can be had here. between fine resale clothing shops and fine furniture stores like the one we see on the right. Across the street, we see the FedEx as well as a Chipotle. And one of the more expensive grocery stores with the Whole Foods there on our right. To keep the neighborhood a little bit more vibrant and to give it some color, there's trees scattered about this urban area. And here we can see some of the residences as well as a bank. Few of the residences are more than 1 block away from the main thoroughfare and all the restaurants and retail establishments. Some of the new additions to the city are mixed among some of the historic sites. Across the street, we can see the older car repair shop and some of the older residences. But then some new establishments as well. Hillcrest now has its first coffee establishment that does its own bean roasting. And as we wait for the crosswalk, we'll get to walk right by. Hillcrest also has a brand new fire department. The building was getting quite old across the street, so it was recently renovated and opened up this year. Now we're passing one of the hotel establishments. There are not many hotels in Hillcrest, but we do have a few. Now we're approaching the bridge over the 163 on University Avenue. Hillcrest is accessible via the 163 as well as the 5 through Washington Street. But the 163, one of the major freeways in San Diego, runs right through Hillcrest, right through the middle. And there's a on-ramp right there we can see. It's a very accessible city, and it's also very easy to get out. We're approaching some of the newer development within Hillcrest. Across the street, there's a large shopping complex that includes a Trader Joe's, a Ralph's, and a number of other establishments and restaurants. That area used to be a Sears, but now is a mixed-use residential condominium complex as well as a series of grocery stores and other retail establishments. We also have a hardware store that we're approaching on our right. With all of the business establishments and infrastructure in Hillcrest, it's really its own city. It can survive on its own. Now we're entering more of the shopping and entertainment area of Hillcrest. See, we have some restaurants mixed amongst the shopping centers. And the Ralph's and Trader Joe's. And to our right as we walk along, one of the more popular restaurants as well as bars. There's Flicks, there's Libertad, and Bobo. These restaurants actually replaced an older restaurant that burned half of the block to the ground back in 2011. And includes the apartment complexes we see above. Those are completely renovated after the fire in 2011. There are numerous coffee shops as well as retail stores. There's a furniture store across the street to our left. There's a Lestat's that's always busy. Parking is certainly a premium in Hillcrest, although there's a ton of foot traffic. Now we're passing one of the more historic buildings that goes back to the origin of Hillcrest as more of a industrial and retail part of the city with the Meyer Reaper graphics. We also see some of the newer establishments that have moved in, such as the Mattress Firm, and some of the newer apartment buildings as well as the older apartments behind for the elderly. As we round the corner, we're going to see to the distance some of our residential areas. Again, not too far away. This condo complex replaced the Sears that was here before. And then more residential units to our right. We have new apartment complexes as well as some old houses.